Here's another proud member of the official Made in Britain organisation.
So gentlemen, welcome to Made in Britain in Conversation, a world first. I'm going to start by asking you to introduce yourself separately. Adrian, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Adrian Maxwell, I'm the Managing Director here at Fracino, and I basically oversee and run the business.
And this gentleman next to you, what does I could ask you to ask what he does, but Peter, yeah, what do you do at Fracino?
I'm Peter Atmore. I look after the sales and marketing at the company. We're working on export market, particularly at present.
Growth time for Fracino.
It is a growth, yeah. Heavy investment in new personnel to help facilitate that growth, but with the uncertainties of the UK market at present.
Well, we've got half an hour roughly to talk about the joy of manufacturing and to offer our other members of Made in Britain a bit of advice about what to do and what not to do. But I wanted to start by asking you, Adrian, about the origins of all of this. You know, how did this incredible coffee machine empire in just off Spaghetti Junction, how did that all start?
Well, obviously Dad started the business 55 years ago, so we've been going an awful long time, of which I've been involved from a child really, always helping and learning things. And then obviously I've been in the business full time for about 30 years now, so I've got plenty of bits under my belt, as has Pete as well. Obviously I've known Pete for about the same amount of time. Yeah. We both started in the industry about the similar sort of times. And we've basically come from a sales and service company to a manufacturing base, which is what my roots are and what Dad's roots are. That's what we enjoy, making stuff, both coming from British industry anyway, machine tool industry and the aircraft industry, and amalgamated those and put them together, and it's enabled us to do what we've done here today. But of course in the early days you just don't have the money, you don't have the capital, you don't have the knowledge, and that all has to be worked at and built over a period of time, which is what's taken so long really. And you don't sort of do it in one lifetime. Some people do, but it's took us sort of a one and a bit really to get to the level that we're at now.
Do you remember the first machine that came off the first production line? Because it was just down the road from me. It
wasn't even on a production line.
So tell us about it. Paint a picture of that first Fracino machine.
The first Fracino, obviously I designed the first Fracino machine on the kitchen table basically, because we didn't have a drawing office, we didn't have CAD in those days. I was literally drawing on an old drawing table, just a straight design, and then obviously got parts fabricated, bought bits in, and I assembled it in the workshop down the road in the old unit that we were originally in, which was number 36, which we don't have anymore. It was a very small unit, and literally put it together, tested it, got it working, and it was sold almost immediately into, I think it went into the Belgrade Theatre in Coventry, the very first one. And then the second one went to a couple of, to a distributor of ours, Shropshire Coffee, who still deals with us today. And he had number 2, and then it went from there basically. And the first 2 group we ever manufactured went out to the Middle East, to Oman. They went into Pizza Hut in Oman.
Well, you mentioned you've got Shropshire Coffee still as a distributor. An old school friend of mine set up a coffee unit in Shrewsbury, where I'm from. This was long before I joined Made in Britain and long before I knew about Fracino, and he said, "Oh, I've bought this amazing machine." He said, "You won't believe this. It's made just off Spaghetti Junction down the road." And he was getting into the coffee industry, if you like, for the first time, and couldn't believe it. And I mean, nobody could actually when he told them. And I think that's one of the joys of Fracino, is when you tell people about the brand, and they're astonished not just by the level of quality of what you make, but also by the very fact that you're managing to make almost every nut and bolt on the premises. I mean, how and why has that had to be the case over the years? Why have you evolved into what I would see as almost the Rolls Royce of coffee machines? How has that happened?
Twofold really. Obviously you start where you don't make anything, you just buy it in and you put it together apart from a bit of pipe work, and we used to make the wiring harnesses very basic on pedalboard system. The big issue then is that you start subcontracting to other manufacturers to do parts for you. And the situation's arisen over the years where we've been let down by manufacturers, so they're subcontracting to us. And if we get a hold up with a component, it can be a small item like a screw or washer. If you haven't got that part, you can't finish that machine. Therefore, that product sits on production line.
It's a vulnerability almost, isn't
Exactly.
it? Yeah.
And you don't have control, you've got no control over pricing, you've got no control over delivery whatsoever. You hope that they will deliver in the time that they say, but if they don't and there's a problem, they have a problem with the machine or whatever, you are absolutely snookered.
Yeah.
And that really is what drove us to do what we've done. So basically the first thing we did was we bought a machine shop. A gentleman on the estate used to machine all our components. He decided he didn't want to do the business anymore. It was all doom and gloom, manufacturing in Britain's finished, all the usual nonsense. I completely disagreed with him. He didn't want to carry on, and I said to him, do you want to sell your business? And he said, I don't want to sell the business, but I'll sell you all the machines. I went, that's fine. So I literally bought him out, lock, stock and barrel, took all the machines, put them in the factory, and we actually took one of the guys that worked for him with us who knew our products. And
Often happens,
he
take
often,
the personnel as well.
yeah, he started working for us, and we never looked back really, and that was the starting point. And that was about 2002, something around there when we first started doing that.
Yeah.
And then basically we started making more and more parts. Then we started making our own tube because we were having a bit of a problem with tube supply, and it was always a delay, plus the volume of product that we had to make. So if a machine was a slow move and you were only selling 50 of that model a year, but you needed to buy batches of 200 pipes, you got stock for 4 years, which was crazy, and it just sits there lying on a shelf gathering dust. So we wanted to eliminate that. So we then started making our own tube. We bought a CNC tube end, a very basic one I bought from an auction, which wasn't really good enough for what we wanted. We quickly changed that to a full CNC. And then we started doing that when we were brazing. And then about 2009, we had 3 sheet metal manufacturing people working for us, subcontractors, and all of them just not producing enough. And it was at the real growth stage, so 2009, 2010, where we had a real boom. Despite us being in the recession here, I really made an effort to push it forward at that point, and that really grew. The export started, and we just couldn't keep up. They couldn't keep up, and it was like catch-22, what do we do here? And I said to them, I think we need to set our own sheet metal shop up and be done with it once and for all.
And so you were at that stage, at the moment we're sort of 2008, 9, which was financial crisis everywhere else. But I'm sure Peter can tell us why suddenly everyone started buying machines. And let's start at the beginning. What when there was a growth in people's consumption of coffee. How do you turn that into sales of these machines to the right people who are going to install them properly and get the full benefit out of them?
Well, Fracino was building the right quality equipment at very competitive prices. They were able to adapt and develop machines to suit market needs, market requirements. The constant investment in the equipment meant that prices of the equipment were able to be controlled. And then the drive forward in the sales and marketing and move subsequently into the export market was where the growth and volume from sales came.
And as the position, in marketing, we love to talk about position, position of your product compared to other things. But with Fracino, that must be a bit of a challenge sometimes, because in the UK, you're the only people doing what you do. And I'm sure you'll be competing to tell me about the fact that you sell these things back to Italy and many other countries that might be bigger manufacturers of these products, but you're selling them back into market. How do you... or how has the product position and the brand position evolved over the years as you've sort of got more and more market share and you've become seen as the as the go-to brand for a machine that's going to last a long time, and that also you can bring back to the premises and get it fixed and so it goes back out into service?
A lot of it's born out of experience with the equipment. The best sale is a customer coming back for a repeat one because he was happy with it the first time round. And when you've got customers that have had machines for 10, 15 years and they've still got value in their equipment, the only and first choice for them is a Fracino machine. The predominant focus on using stainless steel in the construction and build of the machine, highly polished, attractive finishes, mean that the equipment can very quickly be restored to an as new condition, even though it's many, many years old and has made many hundreds of thousands of cups of coffee.
And you've got stories of, you have to tell us that story, Peter, of the customer. You don't have to mention the customer, but I know you've got a machine out there that did an awful lot of service, making thousands of cups of coffee. How big was the scale of that? Let's call it a net gain from buying a Fracino machine.
Well, a simple calculation was that the machine itself was about 22 years old, required very minimal work back here, went out in a fully restored condition, ready to go back working again in a location that makes between 1,000 and 1,400 cups of coffee every single day of the week.
Yeah, and coffee doesn't cost £1 a cup anymore.
At 22 years old, in those days, even if we allow the fact coffee sold perhaps at £1 a cup,
Yeah.
which is probably about right for the time.
Yeah.
That machine has probably generated that client somewhere in the region of £40 million.
Pause. But that is a shocking amount of money to be generated from a boiler with some
Absolutely.
taps on the front. I mean, it is an incredible figure, really, from a machine, and a machine that hasn't finished off. I mean, when you bring them back, perhaps this is a question for you, Andy, but when they come back, I mean, I've been amazed to see how beautiful the ones that you're sending back out. They look as good as new.
Yeah.
What do you? Was that always the policy to say, well, we don't want to lose the relationship with these machines? They can come back, and we will put them in service and send them back out again.
I suppose it's like anything. I mean, obviously we'd done foreign equipment before, and we'd always done gadgets and such like before that we used to strip and rebuild, but they were always more messy to rebuild, and you had to repaint them, and they never looked 100%.
Yeah.
And we said, well, when we do it, because the machines, we need to make them be workhorses. We need them to last a long time, to deliver what they need to do.
Yeah.
And when people have spent that sort of money, if we can get our machines to last 2 or 3 times as long as the nearest competitor, then people are going to go, I want one of those Fracinos because I've had it 15 years and it's still going.
Yeah.
Because I buy one of the Italian ones, 5 years it'd be falling apart in the scrap box.
Yeah.
And that's where it came from. And so we made the machines really strong, probably too strong, which is why I've still got machines out that are 20 plus years. But in the early days it doesn't matter because you haven't got the market share. So you're just trying to gain market share all the time. So that enabled us to gain market share. And obviously people used to perceive it as an Italian machine because of the name, and we left them believing that. Now we've completely changed, and we've pushed the fact that it's made in Britain. And even our dealers, I was talking to our dealer in Australia this morning, he was saying he really uses that as a big feature, the fact that it's made in Britain. They really like that.
Well,
even in Australia, they like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously great news for me. I mean,
Yeah,
you feel warm inside, but you know, Peter, you spend a lot of time overseas selling these machines. I mean, what sort of perception do you see from buyers and specifiers and consumers about the surprising fact that you're making this beautiful machine here, but also what the perception is of something that is made in Britain at this time when we're going through quite a lot of political and economic turmoil?
Yeah, the made in Britain still carries a lot of credibility in a lot of markets around the world. Markets and people that would probably not otherwise give you the time of day will have a meeting with you. They'll allow you the opportunity to go and at least talk to them about your products. When I'm approaching new clients in countries that would never have heard of Fracino or have any concept of what the brand represents, simply take some props with me, a piece of the panel of a machine, some of the colour finishes that we can do. When they can see the quality and attention to detail that we put into the products, they can see the precision finishes, then it becomes an instantly item of interest to them to take the discussions further. Then when they start seeing the benefit that we can put into the equipment of making the equipment very cost effectively, because we control so much of the production process, it becomes even more of interest. They can get an inferior quality European machine for the similar sort of price to one of our good models, and so then the benefit of investment in a better quality machine that's going to last their customer longer suddenly becomes an attractive proposition to them.
I want to talk a little bit about the home market, because I would imagine from what I hear from other manufacturers that the home market is a little bit troubled at the moment, and we know the period that we're in and how many decisions there are to make about all sorts of things. What is the home market for your product looking like at the moment? And if you could, and this is a question to both of you really, sort of project us forward a bit to beyond March of next year, March 2019. What is the outlook like for the growth of sales of these machines to British consumers or British suppliers and distributors that are installing these machines around the country?
Well, I think we are selling into a market that is ever growing and will continue to grow. And the opportunities for enjoying coffee and a social experience are finding ever new markets. There are companies who wouldn't otherwise have been involved in hospitality that are finding innovative ways to get into that.
Yeah.
At the top end of the market, because of the growth of the high street brands, the independents are looking for ever more innovative ways to set themselves apart from the competition, to move their offering on and into a quality that the regulatory guys can't compete with.
Yeah.
They couldn't possibly scale it up to that kind of professional finish. So the market is ever growing, the opportunities in the market are ever growing. The challenges for us are developing the technologies in the equipment to feed that market, and for us that's excellent because as an engineering focused company with involvement in every process from research right through to shipping out of the door, we're well adept to meet the challenges of the changes in the market. So I see it as a bright, there's a bright opportunity there. The market is challenged at the moment because we've never been through this kind of sudden lack of investment by big companies in redevelopment work, investment in new premises and so on, while they themselves are not sure what their situation is going to be come March of next year, and clearly have put the brakes on investment in new development work. And for us that's been a challenge. We've seen the market sector change somewhat, but we've adapted to those challenges. We've adapted to the way we approach the markets that we currently deal with, and we're doing very nicely, thanks.
Good, that's warms my heart as well. And if we suddenly need to make 2 or 3 times as many machines from this premises, that's doable, that's achievable, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got a lot of
Speaks
capacity.
to the man that we're doing it.
Yeah, we've got a lot of capacity.
Yeah, you've got
we've
capacity to grow.
We've put capacity in from day one, really, and every time we've changed, we've put more capacity in. And we're not utilising everything as we can, and as we would if we needed to. And we can certainly ramp production. I mean, we've actually probably technically held production back slightly from where we were since we put the other production line in because of the sales and the situation we're in at the moment, but it does mean we can turn stuff on. What we have done quite a bit of recently is we've been doing a lot of special projects which we're working on, which kind of take us, although they're coffee orientated, they take us into different slightly sectors, which is good for us. And we're always looking to do new things, and if we can make it, which obviously once you've got a manufacturing facility, you can make pretty much anything. We can look at anything, and somebody can bring us an idea and say, can you make that? Obviously for us it's all revenue, so if we have to steer the market that way, it's no good staying still if that's not moving. If you need to move, you've got to move, and we've always done that. And you see it too often with companies where they're just so focused on one thing, cannot deviate, move off the line at all, and then that's usually the demise of the business. That's not the way we work. If I think we need to move, we'll move, and if we need to move today, we'll move today.
And one thing we know is that change happens faster these days.
Very fast.
I mean, it is mind-boggling how quickly decisions are taken, fundamental decisions, and how quickly markets are evolving, and obviously social media plays a big part of that. I'm going to wrap by making a slightly cheeky request actually for the pair of you, because we've got, as you know, we've got the Fracino Showcase competition running. We're running it until the end of September, so people do have the summer period to take their Fracino Showcase photograph, and they post it on social media with the hashtag Fracino Showcase. But I'm going to, as this film is really for members of Made in Britain, I'm going to ask what will be, because you will be the gentleman that go through the hopefully long list of photographs and pick out the one winner. What would be your criteria for picking the most amazing picture of a Made in Britain, of a Made in Britain Fracino machine, if you could pick it by yourself? And obviously you won't be. It'll be a joint effort with the two of you. What would you be looking for?
A machine installed in the most outlandish place you could ever think of.
Okay, well that's a brilliant tip. What about you, Peter?
Probably broadly similar. And probably the condition in which it's being maintained in by its owner. If somebody is proud enough of their Fracino machine and maintains it in a fastidious condition, that will really count for a lot of brownie points for them.
Good. All right. Well, the competition runs until, as I say, until the end of September. We'll pick the winner out in October, and then we've agreed that we will go, all three of us, if we can all make it, we'll all go to the premises and see it installed, and hopefully communicate the fact that this is a machine, and that you never know, they might even buy another one as well. You know, we want to tell them all about the brand. Thank you very much for agreeing to do this. It was a test, but I think it went quite well. We'll publicise this with our members so that they can see it, and we look forward to coming back and picking the winner of the Fracino Showcase.
No problem
Thank you,
at all.
John.
Thank you, John.
Thanks very much for joining us. See us next time on In Conversation.
Made in Britain helps Britain's manufacturers sell more with one mark. For more information about how the official Made in Britain organisation can help your business, visit our website at madeingb.org.